We see right now, just in California, it's heartbreaking to see how schools are having people enter and there's people shooting up schools. That should never happen. But the government here locally in California don't want armed officers at schools. Well, locally here in Chino, we have SROs. That's been a thing. We've focused on school safety. Our schools are wonderful for that.
What's more important than safety of kids?
That's what I'm saying. But then you have defund the police by the left, right?
Yeah, but that was 4 years ago. Do they still
But they're still
defund it?
doing it. That's why they don't want SROs on campuses, because they're armed. They're police officers designated for the schools. There's school resource officers. If you don't have a safe school, how are kids ever going to learn?
If they're dead.
Exactly. Or if they're afraid. How does anybody learn when you're afraid? You can't. You're mentally not capable of doing much except for surviving, right? I grew up in a childhood where you had to survive. Half of my childhood, I don't even know what in the world, I was learning in school, because I was trying to make sure my siblings were fed and we weren't being harmed by the people being brought into our house by my mother. So you're in survival mode. And here's where we're creating as a whole an unsafe environment. We talk about safety, right? It's unsafe to not have our schools locked down to the point where they have security. They have SROs, resource officers with guns. I was talking to Bill Aselli this morning. Think about it. It's really hard to get numbers on how SROs work, because the schools that actually have these armed officers on campus,
Nothing happens.
Nothing happens. So how do you really come up with numbers? Because it puts that back in the heads of these criminals. If I go on there, I might not even get past the entrance, which a lot of I could say locally, our schools have one point of entry, and we're trying to buckle down and lock down. Of course, there's always a way for a criminal to get in, right? But you lock down and you have one point of entry. And if you have a safety resource officer on campus, who's the first responder there? That means that criminal knows he's only going to be able to get to a certain point before he's taken down, right? Mm-hmm. And you have all these people making these insane laws that are creating the lawlessness in California, right? And that are creating this environment.
And Apollo? What are their arguments on why don't they have armed officers in every school?
You hear certain things like by certain organizations, defund the police. I think they want chaos. They want chaos. When you have chaos, you have people afraid, and then you can control the people, right? It's almost like it's designed that way. And why wouldn't you want to put money into that? You have local school districts like ours and others that put the funding money into paying for these SROs. We partner with our cities. We partner with our sheriffs, our police departments. Chino Police Department's amazing. We partner with our San Bernardino County sheriffs to make sure SROs are on our high schools and our junior high campuses. Not so much on our elementaries yet, but we put a lot of resources to make sure our elementaries are also safe. And then you have security guards.
Is it expensive?
It's absolutely expensive. And that's why Bill introduced this bill, is to put the funding towards something that actually matters, right? Instead of all this other junk that they're funding and they want to push into these ideologies and funding to push these ideologies, he's trying to push the resources into making sure our campuses are safe so our kids do have a great learning environment that's safe and that we are partnering with our communities to send the message.
And they're saying that California cannot afford it?
No.
But California is...
They don't even want to give him a hearing, Apollo.